Most farm operations today are going to be able to survive 2024 simply because they can restructure debt, restructure losses, or whatever the problems may be. But 2025, there's one thing I know about that year, and that is going to be the year of reckoning. Now, inside today's video, we're going to talk about the exact things that happen that ultimately put farm operations into that type of position. So let's get to it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is just something that's really, man, it just scares a lot of farmers. And that is the simple fact that a lot of family farm operations today are about to be exposed. Now, one harsh reality that you need to understand about American family farms today is that they're going to be exposed in the year 2025. And unfortunately, we're going to have a lot of businesses going out of business. Now, between 2017 and 2022, we had over 150,000 family farm operations go out of business, but there's a lot of things that happened in those times as well. But the reality is those times, they repeat themselves. Now, going into 2025, the reason I say it's going to be the year of reckoning, because all the things and all the decisions that were made in the past 2 to 3 years, especially in 21 and 22, when we had higher grain prices, but also lower interest rates at the bank, and people were able to buy things that maybe the farm couldn't afford or something like that. All of those decisions now are going to catch up to them going into 2025. And like I said, we may be able to restructure some debt and everything going into, the end of the year of 2024. The bank may be able to work with you, but 2025 is when the stress and the anxiety is really going to hit a lot of these family farm operations straight in the face. Now, the question is, though, is why are these family farms going out of business? Guys, I can tell you after working with hundreds of family farm operations over the past 5 to 6 years, and really just being in the financial side of the ag industry for more than a decade now, people are guessing. They don't know where they're at financially. They have no way to take all of this data, all this information, all the numbers that they're looking at that are literally scribbled on either notepads in their truck, or you walk into the office and there's papers everywhere. People are just guessing with these massive financial decisions, and they're also taking counsel from maybe their banker or somebody like that. And at the end of the day, it's your responsibility as a business owner to have the system in place, to have the structure of the organization, to take all this data and simplify it into one single format, so that when it comes to making these decisions, we can remove our emotions from that decision, which is just a side note here. This is why a lot of people are going to be in the trouble that they're in 2025, because they were emotional with decisions back in 21 and 22. And those decisions are going to catch up to them. But we need to have a system in place that allows us to remove the emotions from any big decisions that we're making, so that we can make sound financial decisions based on the facts of the matter. And really just also too, considering all the variables at play, right? Where are we at in the market cycle? If we're buying this piece of ground today, are we pricing it out at just affording it at today's grain prices? But what happens if grain prices drop, right? Can we afford it then? And this is what we do inside a legacy farmer. And that's why we've worked so hard with our software called Farmer Metrics, and taking all the data that farmers and ranchers have across the country and putting it all into one simple format, where you have one, maybe two numbers to look at when it comes to making a big decision like buying a piece of ground or expanding the operation. Now, the second part of this entire problem is that those of you that are trying to get help, one thing that's always really triggered me in the industry is just the lack of service that is given to farmers, ranchers, and ag business owners. Inside a legacy farmer, we always pride ourselves on getting back to people literally within a couple hours, right? You have a big business decision as a business owner, just like me. If I'm reaching out to an accountant or a banker or something like that, I need a response, because I need to make a decision most likely that day or that week. But we had one new customer come into Legacy Farmer recently that said that they were working with another consultant inside of the ag industry, and it was common for them to reach out with a question and not get a response via email for up to 5 to 7 business days. Guys, to me, that is completely unacceptable. As a business owner myself, again, when I have a question, it's because I'm thinking about something right now, and I need an answer back from the people that I'm trusting to advise me on those big decisions here, whether that be, people like us inside a Legacy Farmer, or your accountant or your banker, or anybody like that. The lack of the level of service in this industry drives me up the wall, because again, there's so much money at risk, and every day that you don't have the information you need to make a critical decision is just going to cost you not only just money, but time and energy, stress, anxiety, just all these things that factor into that decision. So as a business owner yourself, you need to really look at the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and making sure that you have the right people on the team that actually treat your business the way that you want it to be treated, which is quick, right? We want to get responses fast. We want to make sure that we have all the information available, because these opportunities, they come and go just like that. And as a business owner, I do not want to live in a world where I'm just, all the stories start and I get stressed and I have this anxiety because I can't get responses back from people that I need the information from, or something like that. And that again is one thing inside a Legacy Farmer. We want to make sure that we're back to people in 1 to 2 hours. We hop on Zoom calls with our customers all the time. We pull up Farmer Metrics. We look at their numbers. We calculate all the different things and variables that could happen with making this financial decision. We want our customers to have this level of financial certainty in their farm operation, in their strategy, in any type type of big decision that they just won't get anywhere else. And we want them to have it today. Not 3 days from now, not 5 days from now, not 10 days from now. We want them to have it today. Now, the last point, guys, that I want to talk about that really contributes to this reckoning problem that I'm talking about in 2025 is that most farmers and ranchers, they don't have the perspectives they need to look at their finances from different viewpoints inside of their operation. Now, the concept that I use to explain this, I call the 3 frames of finances. So if I were to take your finances inside of your operation and set them down on a table, and on the other side of the table, there's an accountant, there's a banker, and then there's another ag business owner like yourself. They're all going to look at that data and get a different idea of the strengths, weaknesses, overall the health of the business or whatever it may be there. And the reason for that is because they're all driven based off of different incentives, right? The accountant is going to look at your operation and your numbers from a perspective of tax liability, right? How can I save this customer on taxes? Are we taking advantage of everything we can inside the IRS tax code? Are we doing what we can to minimize that tax liability? The banker, on the other hand, is looking at your operation from a borrowing standpoint, right? Does this customer have the assets that I could take as collateral to make them a loan? That's part one. And then 2, do they have the cash flow in order to make the payment back to the bank, right? They are looking at your operation as a way of whether or not this is a good business to deploy their capital into and get a return on their investment to return to their shareholders or owners of the bank. Now, the other business owner may be looking at it from a place of operational standpoint, looking at your operating line of credit, looking at your expenses, looking how things are going to run on a day-to-day basis and whether or not you have the capital available to you in order to run the operation altogether. Now, one thing I've always trained our customers on is understanding that you have to have the skill sets to look at your operation from every perspective, because every decision that you make inside the operation, it's going to impact you as a business owner, it's going to impact your banker, and it's going to impact your accountant or whoever else it is that you're working with on that side of the business. And so as a business owner, we need to have enough knowledge and skill sets here in order to look at whatever decision we're making and be able to consider how it's going to impact all those different seats inside the business. And that is what I'm talking about when it comes to making these big financial decisions. We need to consider all the variables. We need to be able to see how this one decision is going to impact every side of the operation. And that's where the confidence, the clarity, and the certainty that you're looking for can be found. But the reality is, if your numbers are not structured and organized in that way that's going to simplify that decision and show you how it's going to impact all those different people inside the operation, you are going to struggle and you'll never have the level of clarity that you ultimately want. That is why we built Farmer Metrics, our software, the way that we did. It helps you drastically when it comes to simplifying those decisions and seeing how it's going to impact your position with the bank, or how it's going to impact your tax liability, or how it's going to impact the overall operation, and what's going to happen to your operating line of credit, things like that, guys. And this is what is going to separate the successful farm operations in today's ag environment from the ones that just aren't, and ultimately end up going under, because at the end of the day, they're guessing with every decision. They're shooting from the hip. They have no structure. They have no organization, and their only strategy is hope and prayer going into every year. I do not want our customers operating that way. So at the end of the day, that is why we have built our software, Farmer Metrics, the way that we have to simplify those decisions and give our customers the confidence and the clarity and the certainty that they've been looking for, that they've never been able to get anywhere else. All right, my friends. So I hope you took away some valuable points inside of today's video. And if you're at a point where you are sick and tired of not having the structure, the organization, or the clarity, confidence, and certainty when it comes to the big financial decisions inside of your operation, or not being able to see everything as a whole, seeing how your decisions are going to impact you from a business owner standpoint, to your banker, to your accountant, right? Everything that we talked about inside today's video, then I invite you to sign up for a free call with our team. Click the link below, schedule your call now, and we'll see you on the call.